Welcome to episode 5 of The Boom Show. With me in the studio is CEO Ronnie Zingre, and we're going to get back, going to talk with him in just a minute. Before we do, I would like to tell you a little bit about this thing here, pokeRT.ch. I think this is the most interesting media project right now, or a corporate media project in Switzerland at least. And the man behind it all is Gustavo Salami from Kuble, and he's behind the cameras as well. Thank you very much, Gustavo. And thank you for doing this. And if you're interested in creating content as a company, creating content in a very effective way, then maybe you should be talking with him. In the Boom Show itself, I mean the pokeRT media channel, they have many different things that you can watch here, but my show, The Boom Show, in The Boom Show we deconstruct business growth with a CEO each time, and that takes us back right to Ronnie. Ronnie, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Dave, for having me.
Why did you join us today?
Excellent questions. We had the interaction with us was that you asked the right questions, so the answer should be easy for me. I thought it's an easy take, so that's why I'm here.
Cool. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm glad that we have this hour. It's quite a bit of time to discuss business growth, and you have a very interesting business story to tell. You're going to go into the details. I just tell people the most interesting number that I can see from here, and this is that 9 years ago the company, and you will tell us a little more about that, had 10 people. Today, 9 years later, you have 60 people on the staff. First of all, how did this happen?
Well, first of all, we had a very interesting case for our clients. I mean, we had a product that was the basis, that's the fundament in any case for
Tell us a little bit about the product.
Our product
or maybe first even about the companies, because there are two companies behind it.
Exactly.
Tell us about MBV first, please.
MBV is a company that has been founded by my father, actually. I'm the second generation. He developed a product that's called a Microbial Air Sampler. This product actually helps the pharma companies to monitor air and ensure product quality. That's the most important stuff. So if you are sick or I am sick, we get the needle inside our veins, then we want to be safe. And that's actually an instrument that helps to prevent contamination of the final product in pharma, for example.
Okay.
So that's the product story. For a very long time, we were only 10 people, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. And the first thing we did, that was around these 90 years ago, we bought a company that helped us produce these instruments. So we internalized the value chain. Actually, that was a strategy approach of my father, and this is how we took the biggest step first. So from 10, we then ended up at 30, almost 40 people already.
So before you kind of did the engineering of these devices?
Sorry, again?
MBV, before you had the second company, which is called Femron.
Yes.
You kind of just did the engineering, but not the production part of it?
Exactly. Only the engineering part was internalized at MBV, and everything else was outsourced. It was a complete outsourced strategy. But then there was luck involved, actually. We could buy parts of a company that went bankrupt, and with that management buyout we actually founded Femron, and this is how it all came together and actually enabled us to have a complete process and the quality under control.
Which makes sense if you're a Swiss company, precision-based company, and not something which is a mass product.
Yes, exactly. That's absolutely the key. That's another topic that actually in the whole growth case and in the last 8 years since I'm CEO was one of my main initiatives, quality first, and it's absolutely necessary because our clients, they deserve the best products and they want the best products, and that's what we deliver.
Everybody who wants the best product and pays for it is allowed to get it, right?
Yes, exactly.
So this product is really produced in Switzerland, which is not something that you hear all the time, except when you talk about Swiss watches.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're right. But we have of course partners that and certain parts that come from around the globe. So we are sourcing around the globe, but the final products are assembled here in Switzerland, and we actually produce the metal parts here in Switzerland as well, together with a robot strategy, so we can ensure quality, can absorb growth, and actually have a stable case also for my employees that I like to take care of.
You know what, I mean, I had the chance to see literally more than 100 companies go to their headquarters in Switzerland, usually smaller, medium-sized companies, and there are not that many who can still claim that they produce so much, such a big part of their product in this country. So you seem to have decided to do so, to keep doing so, and I'm pretty sure that, because I know that you're a businessman, that you have most probably researched other ways of doing this.
Yes, we did actually. 2015, when the Euro Swiss franc crisis was, we had a big project to look at how we can come back to a sustainable margin, and actually ensure that the people can still work in Switzerland. We found that the difference at the end, the bottom line, between quality and outsourcing, if you do that, you need to control the quality still, and this is an overhead that you need to finance as well.
Yeah.
And if you then travel to Czech Republic or India, wherever, then still the transportation is also costs you a margin.
And the management that flies back and forth. Exactly. I heard from other companies.
That's true.
Because, as you just said, you need to control it, and usually there are not people from those countries that can do that for you, or at least it takes some time until they really understand your way of doing things, right? Absolutely.
And when we looked at the finished goods they delivered us, we saw the difference is that big that we wanted to keep it under control, and then we actually approached our continuous improvement initiative is another thing that we are doing since years now, that we constantly improve our processes, the flow of information, and that actually helps to decrease the costs, the direct cost of your instrument, and this is a way forward for us still today. Yeah.
Good. So we started with your growth story, yes. And you said that the first big step was growing from around 10 to adding, or by adding Femron,
yes.
to how many people?
To about 35.
35. Okay, so even from then on, you have doubled the size of the company, yes. Or at least number of people who work for your company. How did that come? I mean, what happened after that?
Blood, sweat and tear, I guess. It was really a lot of effort involved, of course. And the effort that we had to take was to reach a certain critical mass. The demands from our, I love my customers, they demand that much so that we need to react. There are two ways.
Much as in many, like quantities or quality?
Quality, paperwork, expert-wise, the precision of, I mean, we have for one customer about 12 different addresses that we manage, and if we don't take the right one, it will not arrive. So
can you give us an example? Where yes. would you send something to?
We would probably send something to Novartis, for example, and they have different gates where stuff arrives, so we need to be able to manage that address. That's just a small example, but it shows you that little detail of sending an invoice that can be already quite complex with a big pharma company. Yeah. And they expect the processes, the knowledge, the in-depth insights, the processes I said already, that's all that comes together, what they demand, that needs to be a top-notch. And this is what we deliver, that what we are good at is putting all the things together. The product on one side, the processes, having a good team, good culture, and mixing that all together. I think that was really the effort that we put into, And then we were able to actually grow steadily, step by step.
I mean, by people demanding a lot, by clients demanding a lot, you don't just grow by nature. I mean, they could also just wear you out, and in the end, after 2 years, you have no energy left anymore. So in your case, that seemed to have been a growth driver, the way you put it.
Yes, let me, for example, take the quality system. Everyone knows about ISO 9001. It's kind of the basics you need to be able to...
You look bored.
Yes, but I am bored actually, because it works so well. And one of the things I always said was, if we have a quality request that we need to live every day, we don't put it in that system, and when an audit comes, we freak out and have headless chicken mode for 2 weeks before the audit. We fought for every single point that we implemented in that system, and that also meant we said no to certain things.
Like what?
We had requests about paperwork that were meant for industries that do chemicals, or chemical suppliers. And this is a paper that is 5 pages long. You need to pass it on to your supplier. This supplier needs to pass it on to the next, and so on and so on. These kind of things is actually what we negotiated it out of our quality system. And this was this let's say conflict a little bit, this fight for, that was the enabler for us to grow, because we don't do something that has no need. So you need to be lean if you want to grow. If you grow and just add on fat and flash, you will not be able to react fast enough.
Does that mean that you're not just accepting everything that is asked of you, but you really want to go through all the details of each process and make it as doable, viable as you can?
We want to do it as effective as possible. Then we know we do the right thing, and after that we work on the efficiency. So doing it fast. So and yes, you need to be aware.
Effective means doing the right things, first of all?
Yes. Do the right thing. For example, this paper. If we do it, it's not the right thing to do for our industry.
Why not?
Because the clients will... It's a paper that has no value to the product, to the process, or my customer at the end.
Who does it have a value to?
It does have a value to our customers if they source chemicals. But we are an instrument company, so we sell hardware, and sometimes they think we deliver chemicals. And then, for example, it is important, do you have any animal stuff in that product, because it can be processed along the value chain. It can have an impact on their final product they sell.
I like to dig into the detail a little bit here, because it's an example, and if we have an example that really helps my understanding at least, and I hope that it also helps your understanding a little bit. So if I get that correctly, it's a paper that is asked of vendors in case they deliver to
a pharmaceutical company that also sources instruments, like in our case, or they source chemicals or other ingredients that they need for their product.
But in those cases, it's needed for something else.
Yes.
And the paper is just there because someone said it should be there.
Yes, and I get why we are asked, because if you deal with Novartis, Roche or GSK, these are multi-billion companies. They don't have the means to differentiate MBV from someone else. It's just the same sector. So their sector is wide enough. And we fight for to be distinguished a little bit, and that helps us and them to actually reduce paperwork along the value chain. So no one needs to pay for it.
So the fun part about this is that it already kind of plays into the discussion about being lean and improving things continuously. And I think it's a very interesting example, because we could say, come on, how is that important? Just create that paper. It can't be that bad. But you really don't want to waste anything.
That's true. I mean, lean comes really from the word is from Japanese, translated to English, and the MIT people actually went to Japan and investigated about why the cars are much less expensive, but the quality was quite high. And
in Japan?
In Japan,
at
compared,
Toyota.
Compared to the States. And actually, I wanted to point out the word Muda. That actually means waste, but it's not waste. We don't want to do it. In Swiss Germany, in Germany, you would say nicht für die Katze. So you would say it's not only waste, because if I say it's
you don't want to
waste,
do anything which is not necessarily needed.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Exactly. And no, it's no one's fault. I'm not saying it's my client's fault.
Yeah.
They want that paper.
Yeah, they
But
want
it's
it also because the person who orders from you kind of, let me put it in these words, has to cover their ass, most probably. Right?
They have their SOP that they thoroughly follow. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So you help them to understand that not everything is needed, and that you can, like the two companies together or the two entities together, can keep the processes as lean as possible.
Yes, because one thing is that our clients have a lot of requests about paperwork, processes you need to follow, and so on and so on, and they want us to be very reactive.
I understand, but that has nothing to do with business growth.
Oh, definitely yes. Oh, definitely yes.
Explain a little more.
I couldn't disagree more.
Good. I want to hear more.
No, I think for business growth you need, as we said, the product. Yeah, and if we think about product, it's for sure we have hardware in our minds, but you need also processes. Another part is you need to be able to react fast to client requests. And how can you react fast? If you have lean processes, a good team that actually really helps you doing the stuff. And that, I think, it has very much to do with business growth, because the reaction time and adaptability, that is a vital part for growth, in my point of view.
Cool. And I mean, this must be important because you have taken the company to where it is. So if it's important to you today, it's important to us. I also mentioned that maybe there are other numbers that you would like to use in order to explain your business growth. Are there other numbers?
Yes. In the last 7 to 9 years, we almost doubled revenue as well. And so we have both.
Are you talking about your revenue numbers?
No, we're a private company on that. But to give you a perspective, I think that helps that you see that on one hand we have the staff number that grows, the demand that comes. That's also people need to do a lot of paperwork these days. But on the other hand, you need to actually be able to sell more, so you can have a sustainable functioning company system, in our case with the two little entities, and push forward in the market.
And what's your profit margin?
My profit margin is good enough that we can live in Switzerland.
And has it increased, decreased over the last 3 years?
Oh yes, it definitely has decreased. It has decreased, as I said, with the euro Swiss franc thematics.
2015?
2015. But then if you work hard on improvements, you actually can gain back some of the margin, but some of it is lost forever, I guess.
Does that mean that this is a downward trend, and in 7 years, Ronnie will stand in front of the Swiss media and tell us that unfortunately we now have to give up Switzerland as a production location?
Well, you know, predictions are hard, certainly if they are into the future. So it's hard to predict what will happen, but one thing I can assure you, that we have a system in place and the will and the power to actually dig into the details, and also the stubbornness to do so, and be able to have a sustainable level of existence, so we can ensure some jobs here in Switzerland. But if we need to change this in the future, we are back to adaptability. I mean, it's not the survival of the fittest, it's the survival of those who can adapt the best. And that's truly in my heart, and what I want to yeah, everyone to know.
Wouldn't it make things easier to kind of broaden the scope of product a little bit and become a larger company maybe? To become a company with, let's say, 300 people and still produce here very specific parts, maybe also for other industries?
Think big, take small steps, move fast. I mean, that's what you're saying. Like, think big, 300 people, yes, could be, but that's not where I want to go. I want to be the market leader in my segment. Then I will learn more about the neighboring segment. And if I know more about the neighboring segment, I want to go there and be the market leader. And this is a step-by-step approach. It's a very, it's the stonier route to the goal.
Yeah.
But I think that's worthwhile to follow up from a strategy point of view.
Okay, so but at least there's not only one trend, which is profit goes down all the time. So at some point there might be the end to this, but it could also go in the other way.
Yeah.
Good. So that's the growth story in short. I think we also discussed a little bit what you guys do, even though I couldn't explain it to the audience myself. At some point I will visit you guys in Stäfa and I might understand more easily, because the good thing about your business is that you create something that people can actually touch.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Typically when I discuss business growth, 3 pillars of growth stand out. One is the people. The second one is the product itself.
Yes.
And the third one is sales, including marketing, including communication. So people, product, sales.
Yes.
Is there anything else that we might have to discuss later?
Yes, luck.
Luck. Okay, good. Let's get to luck later, okay? Can we start with product?
Yes.
I think we have a vague idea about how important it is, because if I may sum it up, I think I have learned already that this is a product that no one else in the world produces on that high level that you can do it. So obviously product seems to be very important.
Yes, but we need to think of a product always, not only in hardware. Please think always in processes around that as well. It's absolutely vital for our clients that they can, for example, have that preventive maintenance. It's like you bringing the car to the garage and they do the service. We do that on a yearly basis with our customers. It's not because the instrument is robust. That's not the problem. Your car is robust too. But
you said you do that with the clients. Did you mean clients?
Yes, clients. So with the instruments of our clients. Sorry, to be precise, with the instruments of our clients.
Oh, okay. So
they get back. So
you get your product back.
Yes, they send it in, or we go there to the facility and actually do the service, the preventive maintenance, the calibration, and all this stuff around the paperwork. That is again a very important part for pharma industries.
And just for us who have no idea.
Yes.
Would you have to do it every year, or could you do it after 15 years?
Certainly you could have a longer period, but we recommend a yearly preventive maintenance so that we are absolutely sure it works 100%. And this is a very common aspect of the pharma industry, that they send in their working instruments, whatever it is, regularly to the supplier and actually do the service. So they have always the working, running instrument at their facility, and that they are not held back by such a small thing in their point of view.
I get that. Most probably you can do that maintenance in a profitable way. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
So from your perspective, it's pretty clear why you want it, because you can make money out of the maintenance.
Yes, that's true. One is money, but of course money is in the game everywhere. But I mean, it is for the patient safety. We help with our focus on microbial air sampling. We help our clients that they can focus on their specialty. So yes, the instrument is needed. Yes, the maintenance is needed. Yes, we need to earn something, but with that we can be a sustainable part in their broader supply chain, and actually they can then focus on product development, on drug development, on COVID vaccine development, so we can be safe afterwards. So that's why I think it is important.
Anything else that you would like to mention when it comes to the product as one pillar of business growth?
That the product itself is nothing without the processes and the people behind it. That's just the bridge for you to ask you the next good question.
Wonderful. Why don't you sit here?
We can exchange later.
Right? I try to be you. That's going to be more difficult. Anyway, we have questions from the audience. Do you have a must-read book? Do you have must-read book recommendations for CEOs? Thank you, Alan.
One of the books I really like is from Mr. Rommelt. It's about good, bad strategy. He has a very easy way to explain that, what a good strategy is and what a bad strategy is. And the other one, I think, that is just a book you need to read once in your life is The Goal from Elia Goldratt.
What a coincidence. I have it here. This is The Goal. I can't say his name. Eliyahu Goldratt. And it seems to be a real classic. I only learned about this book when I interviewed you for the first time a few weeks ago. But of course I got it and I'm halfway through it. Plus I read the paper in the end where he actually comes up with the whole method. And the fun thing about this book, I have never seen anything like this. The fun thing I believe about this book is that he explains a business principle by telling a story like science fiction. Mm-hmm. It's business science fiction. Of course, you can see that it's not I wouldn't say it's the best storytelling I've ever seen, but it is storytelling. The whole story is told to us, or the whole content of his principles are told to us by using a story. And I really like that about the book. That made me think.
Me too.
Why do you recommend this book?
This experience, I just think it's a genuine experience. It's something you can read at night and you're not thinking too much of your company. But with that picture, with the storytelling, it really helps you to understand, for example, the principle of bottleneck. Why should a bottleneck be at the end of a group that is walking? He explains it that he's in the woods with a group of children, and of course you have the slowest one that's holding back everyone, and you have the fastest one who are in front running, and you don't have the overview of anything. So what he did then, in this explanation, he stopped everyone, they came all together, and then he put the slowest child in front. So he could survey the whole group. Those who were faster, they could help the slowest child. And if this kind of insights you apply then into your business life, that actually helps you to see things differently. And any book you read and you don't see something differently afterwards is a waste of time. No waste of time for The Goal.
Yeah, I mean, lots of things have happened through reading this book. Even my partner and I, we call ourselves bottlenecks now. And that only came through this book. And it helps me understand things much better. And I would never have come up with the idea of reading this book because it's about manufacturing, basically. And then you can learn so much for everything else.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Anything you would like to add to the Good Bad Strategy book?
The Good Bad Strategy book is a book that really helps you to understand the concept of a strategy. And in a nutshell, it says, a good strategy solves a problem. It's mind-blowingly easy. Mm-hmm. But if you then look at strategy and not only following some frameworks, and if you think, what is my problem? What is actually my problem I try to solve? That really helps you to focus and actually set priorities later on. And this is why I like this book so much. And the concept of coherent actions, meaning aligning all the different departments into the same direction, that's a known principle. But I just think he explains it in a way that will stick and also be eye-opening to everyone who reads it. Talking about simple things, I think The Goal also is about very simple things. So in the book, he makes the main character find out what the goal of having a manufacturing plant actually is. And you might have guessed what it is. We're not going to tell you, but it is simple as well, isn't it? True, definitely.
We do have another question, I believe. Dominique, are you taking any precautions due to the current corona situation? I'm not sure whether you're talking about the studio here. We do. We have decided to sit a little bit more apart, but you probably mean for the company itself.
Yes, we have a system in place that actually ensures a safe working environment in our offices.
And that's no small thing. I need to chime in here because I have done that interview with you already. So to you guys, that meant to have 2 shifts. So whereas in the past, usually people came in between 6 and 7 and stayed for 1 shift. We're talking production side right now. You now decided to have 2 shifts and take these people apart. So you had 2 groups, which gave you more space. And of course, if you would have had a case in one of the shifts, the other shift could still have worked. But
yes.
It's also about protecting the people themselves. And then that gave you a little time to play around with the additional space that you got. And in the meantime, I believe you have planted glass between the people, right?
Yeah, that's right. And our approach was always first people safety. My responsibility is my employees. I want them to be safe. The second priority was ensuring customer service, even though we have that current COVID situation. And we didn't even split the production side. We even split the office into shifts because on the customer support, where we do the preventive maintenance, this paperwork needs to be done, and our clients still wanted a certain feedback time. So that really helped us to ensure to arrive at to have an answer to both goals. Yes.
Did your company become a chaos club during the shutdown?
No. Headless check-in mode was never an option because we really had the means in place already. From IT environment or from also, I need to say my team was great. They accepted my orders. I'm normally fairly open in saying what I want, but there I was pretty clear on we do it like this. No questions asked. I never had an adoption rate of a change that quick. And all this together actually helped us.
You kind of turn into the general in that
yes,
situation.
Yes, you need to. And here it was really, you need to be clear. There are situations you need to be crystal clear. That's why we know this all from military, because lives are in danger. So you need to be clear, you need to be precise, you need to be following orders exactly, otherwise it don't work. With an environment we have, I think the people should think more for themselves and also be adults and actually do their work, and then you can be a little bit more open in what you want. But it also helps if then they know now it's really important that they need to follow what I'm saying, and that needs to be done sometimes.
Are you a military man? Like, did you enjoy being in the army? Did you make some good career there?
I was very. I wanted to be successful in military, yes, but I got hurt. Actually, I had an injury in my foot, and
you shot yourself in the foot?
No, I did not. I twisted my ankle and I teared the ligaments. And that was quite painful. I could have been sent home, but I wanted to still be there. I was in Isone at Grenadier.
Oh, okay. So to everybody who is not familiar with the Swiss Army, these are the crazy guys. Yes. The hand grenade people, the sports people, the people who never sleep, with the biggest muscles, and who do the craziest things. And some of them never get back home. But that's right. That's
right. And there I learned a certain tone, if you want so. And this is also why I'm not using it in a civil environment. But yeah, I mean, if it's necessary and you're precise, I want this by then, and you do it,
I mean,
fair.
Giving orders works nicely until the orders then work. I mean, people will most probably follow your orders once or twice or maybe 3 times, And when they find out that those were good orders, they will do it in the future as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. But still, you need to have the follow-up and follow-through strategy or approach that you actually help the people to be successful. If you give orders and fire and forget whatever is done, then I think it's not a good approach.
It's not lean anyway. No. What's the Japanese word for waste again?
Muda.
Muda. Okay, that would be waste. So giving an order and then not following up, that would be waste. Do we have any other questions, Gustavo? Because I see Alan again, but I don't see the question. There's one coming up? No. Okay, good. Thank you very much, Gustavo. So the second pillar, and I think we all already talked a little bit about it, the second pillar of business growth is people. Tell us a little bit about people. You said already that you wanted them to feel safe, but I know that people also want other things than just being safe. They want a good salary, they want to work for a company that they like, they want the boss that they can be proud of. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, of course, everyone wants to work for Elon Musk, so me too, actually.
You want to work for Elon Musk?
No,
you wouldn't get no sleep, man.
Yeah, I know. I read the book, and it's definitely not the way how I see the economy. I agree. You need people that have their own thoughts, that have their own mind, and that you can have a discussion with. And I look for people that know what they want. That I look for people that have a certain expertise, and if they can integrate their values or their values and our values match, then we have an environment where we're not fighting against each specialty, but we actually can put all things together and work into the same direction.
So
and
if you
yes, yeah, and one point you said they want to have a salary, and this is one of the points I truly not believe in, is in isolated bonus schemes.
You don't have that?
No, we have that, of course, but we have only one goal, and that is that we as a company have enough profit to be able to pay everyone what he deserves. And I do not, because if you have, in sales you have the sales figures, in production you have some inventory, in R&D you have throughput time of your projects. So there might be situations we cannot foresee that it is wise to give up my personal goal for the sake of the higher goal.
Yeah,
and this is exactly another pillar that I think we did right in growing, that we had always that scheme, that no one is afraid of me. I lose something if I don't push into that direction. But they need to be, of course, we need to.
So you try to kind of gather everyone behind that goal, yes, of making the company profitable enough to then have some space to pay the right salary, do the right things, develop new products, for instance.
Exactly.
Do all that, right?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Anything else you would like to tell us about the people?
I'm just proud of my team, and I like everyone we have on board. And sometimes it's really hard to get along with each other, because we're all specialists. An accountant doesn't have probably the same mindset as a sales guy.
Probably not.
Or a communications expert. But if we all work together in the same direction, I think that is a sustainable way of doing business. Yes.
Can you do it? How often are you fighting a day?
A day?
Yes, per day.
Per day, 0.2 times. That means once a week.
Once a week, yeah. So once a week, it gets a little louder at the company?
It could, yeah. There were worse times, let's put it that. And at the beginning, when we didn't have the critical mass, when the system was still in development to where we are now, that was sometimes a little bit rougher. Also, if you have problems at stake that are very important and need to be dealt with right now, if people are under stress, then of course it can get a little louder. But it's one thing that it gets a little bit louder, but it's also In French, c'est le ton qui fait la musique. It's the tone that actually makes the sound. If you arrive there, then I think if you're not too personal, then a little fight is also good for health.
You want that? Good. I mean, that makes me think of something else. You were a little bit more than 30 years old when you took over from your dad. Your dad is still in the company.
No, he's not.
He's the chairman of the board, isn't he?
Yeah, true. From a juridical point of view, you're absolutely right.
And he's still there. He still tells you what to do. He could if he wanted to.
Right, but in the company that owns the company, I'm the president of the board. So
okay, so that makes things easier.
That's full circle back. So no.
And then you also have your brother in the company. Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about the family problems here.
Yeah. No, there are none.
None?
No, of
Good.
course. No, of course there are. To work with your father, you need to be. You don't know what you actually are doing because unless you are working with your father, you don't know how he is when you work with him. So that's really.
So from being his son, you couldn't tell how it would be to work with him.
Exactly, and I mean, he's your father. You will always be his son, in whatever way you talk to each other. So there is a huge problem. But talking about family problems, and I know having the succession in a small mid-sized company here in Switzerland is a huge topic. You need two things that are actually really vital. You need to have the older generation. He must let go. And on the other side, you need to be able to take whatever he's letting off. So this is for me the yin and yang of succession.
Where did your dad, I mean, he's not here. It would be really cool to ask him the question, but maybe you can give us a short one. Where did he find the capability to let go?
When he was 50, he was at HSG in St. Gallen, and he had...
That's a university, by the way?
That's a university, very well-known university, and there he was in a program for small and mid-sized companies, and there a professor said, if you want to retire with 60, you need to take care of that 10 years in advance. He came back and we started to talk about...
Where were you at the time? You were in the company already?
No, I was with other companies. I was at Credit Suisse and PwC outside to learn and to be in the real world, yeah, for a moment.
What did it take for you to kind of grab what he was handing over to you? Again, a little more than 30 years old, or not even?
I was 30. I was 30.
30 at the time.
Yeah. 30
Ambitious? So
Yeah.
if you would come into the company, you would come into the company to really get the job done. I can tell that. I don't know you so well, but I'm totally sure. And we also heard that you were ambitious in the army. And if you're ambitious in the army, you're ambitious anywhere.
I think so. Yes, that's ambition is one thing, but you also need a naivety. Honestly, I mean, if you think with 30 you have the knowledge or the personal experience to run a company, yeah, you're naive. I was naive, but lucky enough, I had a good environment also from my family that actually helped me to dig deeper into what I wanted to know. And curiosity, you need to have curiosity. You need to push yourself to the unknown. Don't stick with what you know, and then you will be successful.
Why do you have to be naive? I'm hearing this a lot, and I also experienced this in my life, and I couldn't agree more. But is there a different word, maybe a different way of saying what it means, what naivety is? Does it mean that you cannot know everything, that all the challenges that you will run into? Is that the most important part of this?
Yes, and you need to go through your comfort zone. You leave your comfort zone. That's probably the point where you think, I can do it. But how it actually feels afterwards, if in investor's perspective, you look, that was naive of me to think that would be easy.
Give us an example. Something that you didn't know and had to learn on the fly.
Yeah, for example, working closely together with my father. I mean, we had certain differences, and I knew when my mother called me and said, now you need to talk again with your father, I knew things were in bad shape. That's one point. And the other point is, you know, you enter with 30 into an environment where a system is already 20 years old. So without knowing all the history, of course, I grabbed some of the details or some of the stories, but coming from the outside and not having an expertise in that field, that was something I've learned the hard way, that it is important that you need to know something about the business.
And what did the 60-year-old people say when you came in as a 30-year-old?
Back then, we were only a few, so there were not that many, and actually no one. But yeah, my CTO, Beat, he was already in the company when I became CEO, and he is 15 years older than me, something like that. And 13 years, sorry. I need to correct down here. And yeah, we had an open talk about it, about the age difference, about the view was differently, about the experience was differently.
Yeah.
And with that open talk, we actually nailed it and had that was the basis of our relationship we still have today.
And how about you? I mean, you also had to handle the pressure because you knew that behind your back, and I wasn't at the company, I have no idea, but you know people. So behind your back, I'm almost pretty sure that people said, this is the guy with the golden spoon. Like, you were born with the golden spoon in the mouth, and now you try to find out how to do this. Why should we even come to work? Okay, we have to because we need the salary.
One point I brought into the company was the knowledge about how to run a company, how to deal with processes, how to actually make a strategy and have an execution plan and be stubborn enough to follow it through. So I brought value in. But my father,
and they could see that. I mean, I know it, you know it. But how long did it take you until you felt that the team or the core team was seeing it that way as well?
The core team, I think there was no such thinking.
Oh, good for you. Boring then. Next question. Carl, thank you for being here and asking a question. Assuming that organic growth in personnel also relates to a growth in demand. Oh, in personnel also relates to a growth in demand and ideally then revenue. What was your strategy to increase demand/revenue? And he gives an example: new markets, broader product portfolio, ancillary paid services, improved sales process. And he says, thanks.
Good question, Carl. We have, our approach was always to invest in advance at a certain time with people at some point that we will be able to absorb the growth everywhere where we didn't have critical mass, meaning we had no one dealing for a quality topic that is huge for us. So we sent someone to school, we invested beforehand, and then we internalized that as well. From a revenue point of view, we had always very good relationship with Merck, our distributor worldwide, and this is absolutely vital. One part is having a strategy.
Merck, so guys out there, M-E-R-C-K, not some Merck, the Merck, right? That's your distribution partner.
Yes, in Darmstadt, exactly, and they helped us to approach, to have a global strategy with local interactions, meaning you had one voice in terms of the instrument could be distributed around the globe, and we had the same arguments, and we could help our customers who are global companies to source locally, and that is vitally important. We went with Merck into a combined exclusivity, meaning they have some parts of our portfolio that they sell exclusive, and that's also give them the help, the necessary incentives to actually push it forward for themselves, so they can be profitable on that. And Yeah, like in every relationship, there is love and hate is sometimes a little is close. I wouldn't call it really hate, but having good arguments, we also experience that. And the answer is to that question. On one hand, you need strategy, execution, but you also need to have a bridge to your clients, a going-to-market strategy that really fits to your clients. And this for us was Merck.
So that's part of sales, marketing, communications, and I wanted to ask you, how important is it? I think you're already answering really that question, important. And you also cannot say it's not important because your head of marketing and sales is in the room.
That's true, yeah. Roland's here as well.
Good. Gustavo, are these the questions that we have right now? Would you like to say something else to Carl?
He asked me about new markets here, and
what was your strategy to increase demand?
Our strategy to increase demand. We shout into the market. We educate the market. We help them to understand what they need, and this is an indirect way of increasing demand. So. Back to your question before, marketing and sales here is really important, having enough firepower to get to the market. I think that is one way, and making the products accessible. I can't stress this enough.
How could they be not accessible?
Yeah, for example, if you have just a funny way of distributing it, in Czechoslovakia you have one guy, in France you have another, with that backbone and the capability and the professionality of Merck, that's just a whole new level. That's an unreached level to go to the market.
This contract seems to be a pretty important thing. Is this deal at risk at some point?
No, not at all. We always have, of course, we have discussions, but that's what we have with your partners. But we have no plans whatsoever to go away. No,
I think neither do they.
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
I know that you're a contingency plan man, that you have a continuity plan, and that you work on it every month. So I think that would have come up in your discussions that you have with yourself.
Right.
Good. Is there an important pillar of your business growth that we haven't touched yet? And I think you gave us the answer earlier, luck.
Mm-hmm.
So are you just a lucky guy?
Yes. Honestly, I mean, you need luck at certain points.
Can we have another example?
Yes, of course. For example, my father and I, that we did get along as we did, there was also luck involved. I mean, he could have gone the other way around. He could have sold the whole company to Merck. One point. The other point is when we do strategy, we always keep keep some time open. That if luck comes along, we can grab it. And
what does that look like? How do you leave time open? What do you mean by that?
We have, for example, Tuesday afternoon, there are no meetings. It's only internal stuff. So if I have something to deal with everyone in the company, anyone, I grab them on Tuesday afternoon. I have time.
They cannot plan for Tuesday afternoon until Tuesday afternoon arrives.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and that's where you then hope that serendipity happens, and that great new ideas can be discussed, for instance.
Yeah. No, for example, the hiring of Roland, who's here in the room as well, my head of sales and marketing, very capable man, has a lot of experience. It was luck involved as well. I mean, he met Beat at the photo show.
That's even a private thing.
Yes, it's a private thing. And Beat came to me and said, "Yeah, hey, we still are looking, or we want to change certain things in the company." And that we had this idea already in the back of our minds. And then we sat together. We ate the pizza, I guess. Yeah, it was in Rapperswil. At the lake, and we had a second interview, and deal closed. That was luck to have, also to get to the right people I think that is the best example. Yeah.
Cool. Luck, an important thing. Is there a thing that people talk about when they talk about business growth that they think is important to growth, but you don't think so?
I just had this week a conversation with another CEO who said his investors, they just want to grow on paper. They want to have more staff, and that they staff people sometimes in Czechoslovakia or in Poland or in India, where the salary is low, but on paper it looks like they're growing, so they can get more capital. And I think that is not the right way. That is not the right way to do it.
Let's call that silly, okay?
Yeah, for me too. Yeah, that's okay.
Can you say it to the camera?
Very silly.
Thank you. Good. Is there something dear to you that you needed to sacrifice in order to achieve that kind of growth? For instance, your political views.
Oh, you know, with political views, I'm quite Swiss here. We don't. There's not much I needed to sacrifice. Also, not anything.
Is there anything you had to sacrifice?
Yeah, of course, personal time. Yeah, I mean, it's hard work. It's not an easy job. You need to do what you do, and sometimes it really needs a lot of time. And a lot of time means you have to sacrifice time somewhere else. And it was in my private life in the first couple of years. I must admit, maybe 2 to 3 years it was quite heavy. Then it started to get a little bit better, and then with crisis and so you need to be flexible on the timing, yes.
But you're still the bottleneck.
I don't hope so. No, I know that I'm not the bottleneck anymore. I was at certain points the bottleneck, but one of the advices I can give to any CEO in a small and mid-sized company is don't be the bottleneck in your company, because if you're hindering growth, then you are so vital for the whole system. It's not good. It's not good for you. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your customers. It's not good for your employees. So create a system.
You're becoming a huge risk.
You become a huge risk. Yeah. Sometimes if you go on holidays and you would not return back, how would the companies still be running? That's
By the way, that's a problem that even Elon Musk in a large company has. I mean,
yeah. So he should follow
your show. It's not a good example. We shouldn't read his book. We shouldn't be reading his book.
No, we should not. I agree.
Good. We're in the last 2 minutes. Closing it down here. The strategy. Oh, was education part of the strategy? Alan asks. Was education part of the strategy?
Not sure if I get the question.
Alan, could you ask that question again pretty quickly? Rephrase it maybe? We have another 2 minutes left. Many questions of my own that we also cannot go to, but I think I understood that you really enjoyed kind of becoming the new CEO, the CEO of the second generation. I couldn't know that beforehand, because sometimes it's really painful to people, because they kind of need to become that CEO. They have to do it. They cannot kind of sacrifice the family tradition or the family heritage for their for their own plans, for their own vision. But you didn't make. You don't seem to be that person who actually had to suffer from that.
No, definitely not, because it was a free choice and it was my free will, and that was always. I need to thank to my parents and also my brother, who said. My parents always said, "Do whatever you want. You need to be lucky, and you need to be the guy who actually enjoys what you're doing." And then the luck was we were lucky enough to actually came together and think more. Yes, that's our way forward.
Cool. Alan, I don't see your question again, or I still see it asked the old way, so I think that's it, more or less. Here we go. You mentioned that you had to explain the needs to the customers. Was this part of your strategy?
Explaining a customer what we think, how we can solve his problems we see, is definitely a part of the strategy. That's why we have marketing, that's why we have product management, that's why we actually talk to the customers and help them to understand. By doing that, we understand them better, and this feedback cycle actually helps us to push us forward. And yes, definitely a strategy from us.
Cool. That was it from us. I think we need to schedule 2 other Boom shows with you. Thank you very much for taking the time, Ronnie, and for coming here to the studio. I really appreciate that, and I enjoyed our talk. Thank you very much.
Me too. Thank you, Dave.
And thank you for being here. Thank you for being here with us. If you want to learn more about the Boom Show, go to boom.ceo/Boom Show and be here again in 2 weeks. Thank you again for having been here. Spend the time with us. Enjoy the day. Bye-bye.